Welcome to the Blue Ocean Solutions podcast, where we dive into real conversations with business owners, innovators, and industry leaders reshaping the future of clean tech, construction, and the renewable energy sector. I'm Kreel Hutchinson, your host. Our guest today is Kim Keahiolalo, the regional sales manager from Eternalplanet, located in Hawaii. Today, we're going to be discussing her extensive experience in the renewable energy sector and how Eternalplanet's battery system are deploying reliable, affordable, and safe home energy storage solutions to island residents. Welcome to the podcast, Kim. Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Kreel.
Perfect. For our audience, why don't you properly introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your role and your experience of how you got to where you are today?
Oh, thank you. My name is Kim Keahiolalo, and I live in Hilo, Hawaii. I previously worked in California, and I've been doing solar and related work since 2001. I was invited to Hawaii to become a sales and marketing manager for a small solar company on the Big Island. That's the island with the volcano. And I took it. That was 12 years ago. And since then, I've been working in deploying renewable energy, solar and batteries for the past 12 years. And for me, it was a win-win because I got to live in Hawaii, which is fabulous. But the main thing is my mission is to help people save money, to deploy renewable energy. And specifically, I want us to use less oil. And this particular state, being 2,000 miles away from the nearest landmass, is very dependent on outside resources for producing energy. And one of them is oil. So every time we get a solar system installed here, we're taking a few barrels of oil off the water. And to me, that's a really good thing.
That's great. And well, you ultimately, for many people here listening, they'll think, wow, Kim ended up with the dream job, moving to Hawaii to be able to work in her field of passion and to really make a meaningful contribution to the local residents. Why don't you go a little bit deeper into what was the mission and drive to get you into the renewable energy world?
Sure. The catalyst was experiencing a large oil spill, specifically the Exxon Valdez oil spill, though there have been many since then. But that one particularly impacted me in that the oil spilled devastated a marine ecosystem that was not only pristine and important to naturalists, but also more so to the cultures around that ecosystem who depended on it for their livelihood. They were severely impacted. Once I found out that the oil in that tanker was on its way to California to be used in a power plant to make electricity, I thought, there must be another way we can do this. And so that's how I ended up going back to school, studying engineering, and then getting very deeply involved with energy in the built environment, learning architecture, engineering, and economics, all related to energy.
That's fantastic. So when you partnered and became the manager of sales there for Eternalplanet, what was the condition of the business at that point? What have you seen happen over the 12 years you've been there?
This is great. I've actually had a few different jobs, but it's always kind of like working for a startup because we are going against the grain. We already have an established energy infrastructure. So when you're going into renewables, often we're called alternative energy, which I think is kind of funny, but it's the sun. It's been here for a long time, long before us, and we're just tapping into it directly. So it's a lot like being in a startup because you're always looking for new ways to educate people about what it is that this technology does and how it can serve them. Because traditionally, we're just used to turning on a light switch and everything works, and most people don't understand what happens behind that. So part of our job is to educate people that you can take the sun's energy, convert it to electricity, and then run it through a device called an inverter, and then take it from there and store it in a battery. Now you can have energy that you've produced on your rooftop at your home at your disposal. You can use it whenever you want to use it. So it's been fantastic. And there's so many other great things about it, especially when batteries came into the picture. So Eternal Planet has developed a very efficient, very small battery that has a lot of power. And because of that, we're able to put it into places where you wouldn't be able to install other batteries that tend to be much larger and they come in big sizes, whereas ours is stackable. So you can get only the power that you need or the energy storage that you need. So you don't have to overpay. And you can just get exactly what you need tailored to your own energy needs and goals.
Well, that's wonderful. I've also heard us referred to as the renewable rebels, right? But it's
Yeah.
kind of connecting into something that's been sometimes so obvious that becomes the alternative or the rebel, direction.
Yeah.
Speaking about the local issues there, because I really see the renewable energy industry and companies that really do well, they understand the different needs and challenges that are being addressed in different regions. So obviously in Hawaii, you have a very unique set of circumstances. So for our audience, why don't you give us a little bit of an insight why residents on the island would be attracted towards this type of solution? What's their return on investment? What impact does it have? And share an insight into that decision-making process and education that you were recently speaking about.
Sure. I mean, the main driver, just like for all of us, is financial. We have the highest cost of energy in Hawaii than any other state in the union. So we pay about 54 cents a kilowatt hour. If you look at your bill, you may see something much lower than that. So we're paying a premium for electricity. That right there makes the payback much faster. So if you keep paying the electricity company for your energy, you're never going to get your money back, right? But if you invest in a solar system, solar panels, inverter, battery, then you will actually, at some point down the road, be that 5, 6, 7, 8 years, depending on how you finance it, you will actually break even. And then after that, it's all free. There's just some maintenance that you do, and there's not a lot to it because there's no moving parts. So it's a fantastic way to secure your future. So that's the second reason. The first is immediate savings on your utility bill, because now you're, instead of buying energy from the utility company, and you're just paying for the connection charges, but you're not paying for the actual energy production. You're doing that on your own. So you have independence, autonomy. People really like that. We're used to that in the island, kind of had to fend for ourselves for many years. And so it's natural to the culture to want to own your own energy, and then also to build a legacy. Down the road, as we age, do we really want to be looking at a six, seven, $800 a month utility bill? Well, that's a very real possibility here. Most people already pay close to that. So you're preventing an expense in the future by acquiring the system and putting it on your roof now. And also, our state incentivizes people to do this because they have to also, partially foot the bill for this infrastructure that we have. So they will provide a tax credit for people who install a solar system. And on top of that, now with batteries, you can even get an incentive to install batteries on your home and then sign up for a program where you agree to dispatch some of the energy sitting in your battery during peak hours. This helps the utility. It helps to stabilize the grid. It's called grid services, and it's becoming more and more popular throughout the United States. And, it's not going to deplete your battery, and you're just saying yes between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. during peak times. I will let the utility take some energy from me. And not only did they help me pay for the installation, but they're also going to pay me for the energy that they use during those peak times. It's called grid services or virtual power plants, VPPs is another term for it. So you're not only helping yourself and your wallet and your future, but you're also helping the grid. The other thing is, obviously there's environmental reasons that you would want to do this, but mainly it's just to have financial security, also having backup power in the event of a grid outage. Now, these are more and more common. Our grid is not getting any younger. As I say, our grid is a little wonky sometimes. So, by putting solar and batteries are the game changer, because it used to be you just made solar and who knows where it went. You either used it at home. Well, a lot of people aren't at home during peak sun hours during the middle of the day. So, that energy would go to the grid. Someone else may use it. But now with batteries, you can really control where that energy is going and use it. You can use it at night when it's dark, and then you don't have to turn the grid on so much at night. Sorry.
Mm.
I just get really excited about this because I've been in solar for so long, and I've always thought it was a wonderful alternative. Now with batteries, it just really puts you in the driver's seat as far as resilience and financial stability, and then also the opportunity to be part of grid services.
I love your enthusiasm. And I think that's probably why you've been very successful in what you do there, because people want to be part of solution oriented, smart ideas, even common sense ideas. So thank you so much for kind of educating the audience on all of what that does. Our audience members, because we've had some really great guests on here, will be familiar with the idea of an aging infrastructure system and also the game changer of batteries. Obviously, it's putting, pressure on the system, but it's also then allowing a solution of like renewables are entering a brand new stage of their adoption because of the battery success. When I think about your numbers there, and just off the top of my head, it was like $7,000 to maybe $10,000 a year could be somebody's electric bills. And so obviously over a 10-year period, you're starting to get into some very large numbers. Eventually, the investment up front of a solar system and the batteries will pay for itself. It's just a matter of time. With that kind of common sense and the math, really working for people, what have you found your experience there growing the business? Because also something that happens on the islands is you really have a finite amount of resources and potentially even customers, right? The population probably is growing slightly, but not like other places. So how has the market trend penetration been for the adoption of solar in the marketplace? Where do you see the growth continuing to grow? Is it stabilized? Is it declining? Give us a little bit of an insight of what's actually happening business side on the ground.
Sure. Well, it tends to be cyclical as the tax credits. So the tax credits are a big factor. Knowing that you can get something back, and even in Hawaii, even if you can't use a tax credit because you're already using all your tax credits or your income is at a certain level, you can even take a refund, a cash check in lieu of the credit. So, that just basically leads into the main thing is, how do you come up with the money to buy a solar system? It may be 30, 40, or $50,000, depending on how big of a system you need. And yes, you can look at the math and see, well, this is going to all be paid for. It's an appreciating asset because the cost of energy continues to go up, which makes your solar system more valuable every time energy prices increase. And I meant to have the statistics, but a report just came out from the administration, from the government, that on average, there's over 40 states that are seeing a significant increase in their utility rates. So the motivation is there for customers to do it. It's mainly a way of helping them finance it. Now, in Hawaii, we have a lot of credit unions and they have excellent rates. I always suggest to people, go to where you already do your financial transactions. It may be a credit union, it may be a bank, and that's really the simplest way to finance it.
Love it. And let's pull the vision back a little bit. What are some trends that are influeing either in a good way or in a challenging way the business growth on the islands?
Sure. Well, the trends are that this is becoming more and more acceptable. And it's almost like, have you got your PV system yet? No, we're trying to, we're working on it. We have regulatory issues that are always an issue. And whether it may be the utility requiring certain interconnection paperwork. So most companies here, all companies here that do solar have to go through this process, which means we have people in the office who are doing drawings and filling out paperwork. And we do all, the companies do all of that for the customer. So regulatory issues, utility side, and then there's permitting issues that you have to deal with any local jurisdiction. And this can vary all over the place. In the United States, we are a very arduous permitting process. I found out that in Europe, you don't need a permit. You can get a system installed in a couple of days. And so that brings the costs down significantly. So a lot of the costs are what we call soft costs that are always a challenge. What is it going to take to get a permit? How long is it going to take? Time is money. It can take a long time to get a permit here. So what what I recommend wherever you are, whether you're in California or Hawaii or any other state, if you are interested in this technology and you want to go into this as a business, I would lean into your local solar energy association. So there's a national one, SEIA, the Solar Energy Industry Association, but there are local versions of it. And these people are fantastic because they're dedicated to working through regulatory issues, permits, what's going on, what can they do to help you so that you can keep selling and designing and installing and helping customers get their financing, because there's a lot, this is a little construction project, right? So we're putting some stuff on your roof and we're going to be putting a battery on your wall outside. So lean into your local solar energy association. We have a fantastic one here in Hawaii. It's probably been around for 30, 40 years, because it started with solar water heating, which is a big thing here as well. Uh, because everything's electric here. We don't have gas like they do on the mainland where they have access to natural gas wells. We don't have that. So everything is based on either renewables or oil that it comes in on ships. So yeah, I would say big picture, lean into your local organizations. As they say on the bumper sticker, think globally, but act locally. Be involved with your community and find out what are their challenges? What is it that's keeping them from going solar? I recommend owning a solar system. There's a lot of talk about leasing things. I don't believe in leasing something that's appreciating in value. It's in the long run, and I'm here for the long game. In the long run, it's better for the customer to own the asset. It's very simple to take care of. It doesn't cost much once it's up and running.
That's great. You had mentioned there, it's basically like organizing a small construction project for your clients. How do you manage and handle all that in your office? Because obviously you're on the sales side, but then there's implementation, there's sending out teams. Give us a little bit of an inside baseball of how that workflow and organizational all looks at Eternal Planet so that we can see how that delivers into like a customer success story.
Yeah, sure. So Eternalplanet makes batteries. We're a manufacturing company. We're in 20 countries. We have about 20,000 employees. But what we do at the local level in order to implement that is we assist the installer with design and engineering. We ask them, what is it that you're looking to do? Are you adding some solar to an existing solar system, or are you putting in a brand new one? How does this look already? And then so we assist with engineering and design. We also train and come out in the field and help installers the first time that they're putting an EP Cube Eternal Planet battery in. So it's stuff like that, just holding their hands through it until they have installed a couple of their own. So it does take working with designers, engineers, and also the salespeople to make sure that the expectations have been set properly. The customer understands how much storage they're getting, how much energy production they're going to get, and stuff like that. So it's great because there's a lot of software models out there that help you with that. Back in the day, we used to use spreadsheets. We didn't even have Google Earth. We used to go out to the site and hop on the roof and take measurements with a tape measure. It's much easier now, thank goodness for technology. And as AI moves into our business, that's going to help tremendously with customer service, because a lot of questions we get are questions we've answered before. So implementing AI in there to say, AI can just instantly say, I've seen this before, here's the solution.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I was going to ask because this massive trend that we're all experiencing at some aspect in our life, AI, I was going to ask you specifically, how do you see that influencing your experience, your current role, but also your industry? You highlighted the customer service side of things, but I would imagine maybe there's redundancy in your office. Over 12 years, you've probably seen, hey, there's administrative or there's redundant actions that actually it would be great to wave a magic wand and have all of this like done by AI, freeing up human energy to then focus on, the real important things that humans need to be doing, which is a lot of like probably contact with customers in a particular way, or sales or development in that way. So give us a little bit of an insight where you think AI could influence your current business and role.
Yeah, well, one of the first things that's already been implemented is that a lot of time spent in an office is answering calls from customers saying, "Hey, how's my system project going?" Things like that. Well, you can use AI to update the customer automatically once a permit is submitted, or once an interconnection application is submitted. So just being able to keep people updated. I'd love to see AI being used in design as well, because a lot of these designs are similar. And also to get would be fantastic if what we call AHJs, the authority having jurisdiction, if that could be more automated so that when a permit is submitted, that it can electronically go through a very quick scanning process and then be approved or sent back. That would save everybody tons of time and money.
Yes, what I've seen in my experience speaking to a lot of business owners, there's like, let's call them like soft or easy AI solutions that will just improve efficiencies, especially around like customer or redundancy of emails. And then you have the more in-depth operational AI that is going to like automate the workflow of redundancy and shoot off triggers, which is much more customized, right? So I think people are familiar with like adopting AI in the front end, but those more involved AI solutions really custom. And I think that's, from my perspective, those are the influences that are going to happen probably over the next 12 to 24 months that are really going to reshape certain businesses. And it sounds like you've been able to even identify like the front end easy stuff that's already working to like more, hey, I'd love it to go in that direction. Do you see it also that way?
I certainly do. There's so much potential, working for a global manufacturer, there's so much potential for logistics to benefit. We have all kinds of, well, we do a lot of, everything is shipped here, and, and sometimes things pop up that we're like, well, oh, I didn't realize, it's coming on Christmas and shipping is getting tight. So therefore prices might go up on shipping because there's more demand for that. So yeah, I think from logistics, manufacturing, shipping, finance, things like that can all benefit from. I'm so happy AI is happening because I was around when the internet started and it was like, come on, let's do this faster. I see AI is like where the internet was 25 years ago. We're just getting started, and it's not going to take 25 years. I think, like you said, AI, I think in the next 12, 24 months, and by the way, those data centers that process this enormous amount of data, that is part of what's driving up our energy costs in the US because of the demand for energy. So this is where another place where renewables can come in and help because they're quickly deployable, even with the permit process. um, I have
I would
go ahead. No.
I no, I would. I was going to say, I agree with you that I think because the energy demand is growing, that the opportunity for the renewable sector, solar, wind, I mean, all hands on deck is really the philosophy that I've heard other leaders that have spoken on the podcast are saying, hey, it's not about picking one energy winner at this point. It's
Yeah.
about saying, hey, everybody needs to get to the table and we all need to be improving our game. It sounds like you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's going to require a blend of energy technologies to get to where we want to be.
As you look now towards the future, let's say in the next 6 to 12 months, what are the strategic priorities for you and your role at Eternal Planet and for the vision on putting solar and battery storage into more homes and residents on the Hawaii Islands?
Yeah, well, one trend I'm seeing that at first we thought this was going to be tricky. It's called off grid, meaning you're putting in a solar system and a battery system, and you're not actually connected to the grid, which the reason that took a little while was because you're putting a big risk out there. The nice thing about being hooked up to the grid is if you have 3 rainy days and your solar system doesn't make much energy and your batteries don't get full, you might run out of energy. So having the grid there is good. But with generators in tandem with home solar systems, you can be off grid. We had a project that was brought to us after the Lahaina fires, which was devastating. And, 1,000 homes burnt down, people, over 100 people died. There were many people displaced. And this church group got together and built a tiny home village. They needed power, of course. And when they found out how much it was going to cost and how long it was going to take for the utility to bring in infrastructure for this village of 102 homes, they said, we can't wait for this. So they decided to go off grid and they put solar panels on every roof and a battery. And they used the EP Cube because our battery was scalable. They could get exactly the size they needed, whereas other batteries were like, this is the size, take it or leave it. Or if you want more, you're going to need two. Well, these are tiny homes. They didn't have much room. So our battery with actually we also make solar panels came in and we're able to power these homes. Now they do have a backup generator in case there's not enough sun for so many days, which is a major home builder.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing case study, right? Of people finding the solution that really fits for their situation, being like, hey, we don't have time for the infrastructure to catch up to our demands. We need to look for alternatives. And the alternative is really like the renewable energy sector and what you guys provide. So it sounds like you're really able to adapt and be more resilient to be able to match the interest in what's required from your local residents. So as
Yeah.
you move in the next 6 to 12 months, will there be a continuation of those types of projects that are on the table as a result of the Lahaina fire and the displacement and how much time and energy it takes to get like the power grid hooked up?
Yeah, for sure. There will always be what we call the retrofit market. So you've got a house that's already built, it's already on the grid, but they want to put a solar system in. But the new home market is huge. And, off grid has a tremendous potential, because it's just you're adding to the complexity of the construction project when you're bringing in a utility. And then there's the cost, of course. It's significant here to bring in power to some of the places in Hawaii that there are places that don't have any power infrastructure and we have whole communities here that are off grid. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential there for new homes and off grid.
Given your role as the sole sales representative in Hawaii, and you're dealing with all the sales, installer relationships, all the logistics, all that stuff. What are some of the, I guess, frustrating or bottleneck experiences that you run into that you would love to have resolved and able to allow you to fulfill your mission and vision more effectively?
Well, the most important thing would be to have a fast track version of the permit. So 70% of the permits pulled in this state are for solar systems, and it causes quite a backlog for the permit office. So if we could, and there are products like solar app where you can just go in and a county can set this up, or jurisdiction that issues permits can set this up where you just put the stuff in online and you get your permit right away. That would be a game changer, because then you're not sitting on inventory, which is costing you money, and you can't install the system until the permit's been issued, right? So if the counties could adopt these electronic filing systems for solar permits, that would be fantastic. Shipping is shipping. It's physical. The ships are going as fast as they can go right now. It just takes time for stuff to get here. We're used to that. So, we just order ahead of time. But yeah, if we could just automate our permit process, that would be fantastic. It would really help everybody. I don't think the permit department wants to be looking at all these permits for solar all the time. They're so redundant, as you say.
Well, it sounds like you've clearly highlighted how AI could be beneficial inside your business, your logistics, your customer relationships, and how that could like streamline some processes. But now you've also highlighted how the government and their systems also need a significant improvement. My hope is that they will adopt and lean into AI, but what I've really noticed is entrepreneurs and business owners usually respond quicker to financial incentives, whereas the government tends to be kind of stuck in even mindset or in inefficient ways for way too long. So I guess one of my last questions for you, if you could wave a magic wand that would allow things to definitely improve, what would it be?
Somehow incentivize our local permitting offices to adopt this new technology and not be afraid of it or threatened by it. I think that, internally they could incentivize people to say, we're not going to do this anymore. And here's what you're going to get to do instead. And make it something more interesting and, more valuable to them than sifting through permit after permit. Yeah, and again, lean into your local solar organization because they can make connections. We've had great success with our organization making connections at the head of the building department, the mayors of towns where we're seeing slowdowns that could be avoided. So you got to get involved. You don't have to do it though. You can keep doing you, but let someone else go out and advocate for your industry, whatever construction industry that you're in, because those are where the changes are made. But it does come down to money and also quality of life. So if I could wave a magic wand, I would just make it so much more fun and easy at the building department for them to do other stuff other than flagging solar permits.
I like your style, Kim. Straight to the
You
point.
asked.
Yes,
You asked. I love it.
I
That's a
do.
great question.
Yes, I appreciate that. And so as we move towards the end, why don't you share with our audience, where do you see the renewable energy sector headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow, that's a long ways out. I see that it's going to become even more affordable than it already has. So it'll, getting into a solar system will become normal. Just like, I'm amazed at how many people have like an $800 or $900 a month car payment. You could get a solar system with a monthly payment for half that. So just seeing the pricing be more normalized and the consumption of renewable energy is going to become more like, yeah, that's just what you do when you have a house. Even if you don't have a house, you can invest in a local solar farm that would feed into your condominium. And then the key to that is going to be storage that has the ability to last longer, for more days, and be even more resilient than it is right now. So I think the forefront is going to be in energy storage and also people that are taking care of existing systems. There's going to be a big market for that.
Awesome. Kim, I've so appreciated having you on the podcast. So I want to make sure our audience are able to get a hold of you. Maybe they've got some interest, maybe they're local residents in Hawaii that want to get some of your services, or they just want to follow you. Where's the best place for people to connect?
Well, they can go to our website at epcube.com, epcube.com. and then we can connect them whether they're here in the US or here in Hawaii. You have my name, Kim Keahiolalo. I can be found on LinkedIn, but we're also global. We're doing great work in South Africa and Italy and Japan. So anywhere you are,
Perfect.
we'll meet you where you are.
Thank you, Kim, so much. To our audience, if you've enjoyed the conversation, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also share with a friend that wants to know, maybe have an insight in solar and battery storage. Once again, Kim, thank you so much for being on the Blue Ocean Solutions podcast. We wish you and all of our audience a wonderful day.
Mahalo and aloha.
Aloha.